One of the key things that I do whenever I speak to people is I give you context. I give you some background and some history so that your CEU credits are very valuable and you can actually use that information when you meet with clients and also as you run your businesses. The 1800s, a big time for development. Yosemite, Hot Springs, Yellowstone Park created, Sierra Club created, Audubon Society created, 1916. You go forward, the 60s, another big era for wellness and sustainability. So we can talk about design disruptors, or we can talk about how change continues to happen in the industry. So the 1960s, World Wildlife Conservation Acts created, trails and river conservations. And guess what? Today is Earth Day, and in 1970, it was the first Earth Day. We see a lot of change in the 70s, Greenpeace, Clean Water Act, the UN Earth Summit. And then we fast forward, 2006, Sustainable Furnishings Council was created, along with an Inconvenient Truth premiering. And so now you see a new era where green or eco-friendly design gets a new term, a new marketing term. But what you should really recognize is that this has been going on for a long time where people do care about the environment. It's just different ways that they express it. In 2007, you saw the Vanity Fair green issue. The New York Times writes about how green is a big deal. And I was on TV once and someone said, "You're the green queen." And I was like, I don't know what that is. Yeah, I like money, but I didn't know what it was. So I literally shot right back to the person who said that. I said, well, I do eco-friendly design. And I do eco-friendly design because I believe green is a marketing term. And I believe that it's been polluted by a lot of people. The green yachts, the 15,000 square foot house that's green, and other things like that. So the common term today that we're seeing is wellness, sustainability, and eco-friendly. And that's what I'm going to focus on today. I want you to have that history, take a picture of the slide if you want to, and I think we're also televising this so you could see it later. One of the key things that you have to know is all of these terms thrown all together. For some people, it's a trend. For some people, they say, oh, it's just going to go away. Well, it's not. There's 60 million Americans, for example, who suffer from asthma and allergies. It's a $60 billion market for the furniture manufacturers because it's a found community, meaning there's a lot of people who are eco-conscious, there are people who are allergy, asthma sensitive, and there's a huge millennial generation that we all talk about, and some people dismiss it and say, oh, you know, they just want disposable furniture. I don't believe that's so. I believe that it is the most important group that we should be looking at right now in our businesses because they're going to inherit wealth. A lot of our parents, and I'm dating myself, a lot of our parents and our grandparents maybe didn't do estate planning a certain way, but guess what? The millennials are going to inherit a lot of money, and they're going to be buying houses. They may also decide to lease, but the clients that I've found, they're actually saying to themselves, you know, I may have a lot of money, but I'm going to buy a tiny house. Or I'm going to buy a small house that I can afford so I can travel the world and live in a house. I don't want the starter house and then the middle level house and then the executive house. So that's a design disruptor. Guess why? Because they're going to keep furniture, they're going to reupholster it, they're going to find products that last. They want quality, they want durability, and they also want sustainability. What is sustainability in furniture? For the manufacturers, sometimes furniture people should be worried. And you know why? Because they're going to get vintage pieces. They're going to go to the antique markets, and they're going to refurbish things. They're going to go to some of these design disruptors. What is the biggest design disruptor I think that we're dealing with right now? We're seeing people watch a TV show, and they instantly become a world-class designer. Because they say, I can do that. And then they go to Instagram and they say, oh, I can do that and I can shop that on Pinterest too. So as a designer, if you are stepping back into your role 10, 15 years ago, guess what? You were the expert. You came in, you said, these are your choices. This is your budget. Here's some places we can go. Today, someone will take your ideas and they will shop it. And you'll go to their house the next day and you'll be like, what? You took my ideas? But guess what? They may not be buying quality furniture. They may be buying cheap disposable stuff that they found online. And I'm not saying all of that furniture is bad, by the way. It is just a design disruptor that we have to be aware of. And as a designer, one of the key things I've begun to do is I've begun to say, how do you make money in design today? One key thing could be a flat fee, where you estimate what your time will be and you charge those hours. Another thing is just to charge them for the design, which you're seeing some of the online services do, and then let them furnish it themselves. But as furniture manufacturers and as you walk the show today, one of the things you might want to do is look around and ask, how is it made? Why is it made cheaper here and more expensive there? Well, sometimes it's the foam, sometimes it's the wood, sometimes it's the upholstery. But sometimes, if it's really, really inexpensive, it's made in a country that may not necessarily care about the environment, the people that work for them, and those products may or may not be heirloom. I will tell you, we had one client who wanted I call it the $9.99 sofa, right? The sofa set, excuse me, not just a sofa. They want the sofa set. I didn't say that. She said that. So, exactly. That's right. That's right. So I can't say which company that was from, but you know which company that's from, right? The sofa set. Well, guess what? Maybe 20 events later at their house, a Super Bowl, a couple of kids' sleepovers, that furniture was doing like this. So that's not sustainable because now that's going into the landfill. And I don't want a landfill in my backyard. How many of you say that? NIMBY, not in my backyard, right? But what really is sad is that family who spent $9.99 really spent twice the amount of money when they could have come to High Point. Let's do an advertisement for High Point. They could have gone to a very well-made product and they would have had that probably as an heirloom piece. That's the key. One of the companies that I love, and I'm going to do an advertisement, is Mitchell Gold. He's in Taylorsville. Mitchell Gold Bob Williams furniture is well made. He asks, how is it made? He does a family care program for his daycare center on the site. He cares about how his people, oh my God, there's Mitchell. Hi. He cares about how things are made at his factory. And not only that, it's a reasonable price. So that's the other thing, going back to what we talk about, what is sustainable? If you have good product, if you have something that's well made, and it's not toxic to you and your family, you're probably gonna have to sit on it. You may not be able to order it from one of these services. And guess what? If you go online as a design disruptor and you say, this is how design's going to be, or it's not gonna be this, these companies won't last, well, you're also wrong. Because there's a whole generation of people who only shop online. So if you read the headline, I believe yesterday, it said that BB, one of the fashion stores, it's closing. The Limited closed all their stores last week. The Ralph Lauren flagship store that was on Fifth Avenue, they're just gonna pay the rent, which is $30,000 a day, so that they can get rid of the 130 jobs. Because they recognize that it's just not, people aren't coming in. They're just not buying, they're just looking. So stores, in a way, if you remember S&H green stamps, I don't know how many of you, okay, so I just dated myself really, because some of you have no idea what I just said. But S&H green stamps, right? When I was a kid, we would buy our little grocery shopping, and then we would go to a little S&H green stamp store down the way, and we'd be like, oh, we want the red wagon. And it took like 5,000 stamps, okay? But you wanted that red wagon. So what you did was almost like a museum. You walked in, you looked at it, you touched it, and then at some point you placed the order and it shipped to you. So it was an early version almost of one of these shopping sites. So I think there's gonna be more and more of that, even for clothing. You're gonna go into a store, you're gonna try something on, and they'll ship it to you from their warehouse, but you don't take it home with you, because I think that's what's gonna happen. Okay, so here we go. These services are not going away. That's the key to understand this. It is absolutely, over time, more pop-up shops where people touch and feel, and they are going to be in our business. Certifications. Sustainability is not one-dimensional. It is not the word sustainability, even though some people say that. It's getting credible certifications. It's making sure that you have confidence in how things are made, and it's making sure that you're taking care of the environment. So I've put these organizations up here. There are millions of them, thousands of them, right? I prefer to look at the SFC seal. I happen to have been on their board, so I'm biased, but I also know that this organization really cares about what they do. And that means they're asking, how is it made? They are working with leading designers, and they're working with leading companies to make sure that those companies care. I'm also an ambassador, unpaid, for the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America. Now, let me tell you about this. If you thought about right now, you're running a company, designer, you're a manufacturer. There are 60 million Americans who suffer from asthma and allergies. That's 1 in 5 people. Well, we can talk about our businesses all day about, oh, I want the millennial consumer. Why not just say, I want the eco-conscious asthma allergy sufferer. I want to make sure that when they buy that couch or sofa, they're not wheezing and sneezing when they get home. That's 60 million people that you don't know about. And guess what? Their grandmothers, their aunts, their uncles are all people who are consumers too. Okotex, that's a certification. Look for that if you're buying textiles. They actually make sure that the dyes are non-toxic. Now, I put Energy Star and WaterSense there just because I want you to be aware that is a certification that the EPA and other organizations have for the appliances. But when you're doing design, you need to know about those certifications because 15 years ago, your refrigerator was the #1 power usage product in your house. What do you think it is today? TV. I heard someone say that. The TV is the #1 power usage source in people's homes today. Isn't that wild? So a lot of people say, oh, I've got my flat screen LCD plasma whatever TV. Well, guess what? It uses a lot of power. So you need to find a way to recognize wellness and sustainability and power plants and all these things. They're all intertwined. And it's your home ecosystem is all linked to what you're consuming, what you're buying, how you're buying, and how it's made. Green Building Council, we all know about that. What about the International Well Building Institute? Do you know about them? I will not give an advertisement, I'll say learn about them because they're talking about the indoor air quality issues. And so many of us don't think about that, and that's critically important. More history. 2007 was the first year you saw the green issue. That's when the word sort of really got big. New York Times did a story. You saw maybe 10 magazines do green issues. And one of the things that New York Times said was the vision of an eco-sensitive life as a series of choices about what to buy appeals to millions of consumers and arguably defines the current environmental movement as equal parts concern for the earth and making a stylish statement. Well, that article went further, and you know what it said? Isn't it sad that a whole bunch of people are throwing out all their old stuff right now to buy the green stuff, and their carbon footprint is this big, okay? They're flying stuff in from everywhere. And guess what? Some of it's not well made. It's just green. They put a label on it. And they also went further in the article and they said, what about the oxymoron of a 12 or 15,000 foot house with solar panels on it? It's green. Or the yacht that is green because it has a single solar panel to power the phone or maybe the refrigerator. Okay, that's real. And that is some of where there's a divide in the green movement, and that's why I don't use that term, because people are confused. They're saying, well, you're telling me to buy more stuff over here, but then it's not well made, so I have to throw it out. Oh, but then I've got to furnish a larger place. So part of what we're going to talk about today is, again, in design disruptors, you've got to understand that some terms can change consumer behavior, but the consumers now have to, and designers have to help people understand what is true and what is not. I was also supposed to talk about my business for a second. I will do that simply by saying that I started this because I suffer from asthma and allergies. I was the canary in the coal mine, 1970s, wheezing, sneezing, had a hippie doctor in Austin, Texas, which is my hometown, and he said you can raise a strong child or you can raise a child on strong medicine. Now, what did that mean? That meant the dog went outside, there wasn't smoking allowed in the house, the shag carpet got removed. When you walked outside, you had to take your shoes off and put them by the front door. How many of us do that today? Were you doing it in 1970 something? Okay? People were smoking in their houses, and they had shag carpet, and the pets were running everywhere. And also, one of the dietary things was get rid of dairy and all these other things that people didn't know about. There were other kids who I went to school with, and as I approach my 30th high school anniversary this year, they were on the steroid medications. They were couch potatoes, and they look old. And that is what we all need to hear, because you can have a toxic home with 8 times worse indoor air quality in your house from all the products you have and the cleaning products that you use. And you can be taking medicine all day, and you're making yourself old, physically. Your mind will never be old, right? Because we're all 21. I say that to say, wellness is not going away. I was the canary in the coal mine. Did you know that 1 in 6 children today suffer from asthma or allergies? I was the one kid in the school that had the Kleenex. Okay, you know that kid, right? That was me. Today, I still use Kleenex, but there are medications that help, but there's also lifestyle choices that help. So I believe that if I was the one canary in the coal mine, and now there's 1 in 6 children who are the canary in the coal mine, that means that your indoor air quality, your ecosystem could be toxic. And it may not be yours, but it may be your neighbors or your friends. Now, talking about my business, I built a platform, and it's 17 years now. I built a platform talking about eco-friendly design and healthy design and what you can do in your home. And guess what? I got a licensing deal for cabinetry and for textiles. Over $82 million later at wholesale, we have a brand. But there were people when we started this, they were like, it's a trend, it's a trend. Well, when I asked people, would you raise your child in a chemical factory? What do they say? No. But when I say in your kitchen, it's one of the few rooms that the temperature changes at least 2 or 3 times a day. And if you have formaldehyde-based glues, which people weren't even talking about back then, it was just like, I just got a kitchen. I don't care. It's just a kitchen. Well, if you have formaldehyde-based glues and the temperature is changing, do you remember the Katrina trailers, right? People got sick. So we started using a different type of glue. We insisted on low to no VOC paints and stains. We insisted that if they could do dovetail construction, that they would. And it was made in Wisconsin. Guess what? 700 jobs later, the company is doing well. Textiles, made in South Carolina and in Asia. Now, the pillow shells are shipped over in a container, but they fill them in the US, so we know what goes in the pillow. And a lot of people say, oh, you know, hey, it's too expensive. Well, guess what? Our pillows are less. And you know what? You go to Bed Bath Beyond, the pillow zippered thing is on the long side of the pillow, because I'm a mom, and I don't want to stuff it in there. How many of you share that sentiment, right? I want to just drop the pillow in. For $39.99, you get both the pillow cover and the pillow. If you buy another pillow, it might be $59.99, and you also then have to buy the zippered cover. Does that give you an idea? So wellness and sustainability may, for many people, oh, it's more expensive. No, it's not. There's supply and demand, it's coming down, the prices are coming down, and the quality is there. Look at how many books, and by the way, this is just 8, just to show you some of the titles, but I found 13,000 books when I typed in the word eco-friendly. 13,000 books. And some are online and some are, pamphlets, but I want to share with you, there are a lot of books on the subject. It is a trend only if you see a few books. But I believe there's about 20 books coming out this year. My book happens to be up there, but I've seen designers, furniture designers, coming out with books to talk about how things are made too. And I think that we should all be aware of that. While you walk the show, you should ask, how is it made? What's in it? Because you're just as responsible for what goes in your home as your client's home. Now, brands are getting into the act, okay? So when brands, big brands like Nike, when they start getting into the act, guess what? It's not a trend anymore. And let me tell you what Nike's doing. They're taking the soles of their old sneakers and they're repurposing them into playgrounds now. And they're repurposing them to make new shoes. And Timberland is doing some of the same thing. So when brands are getting into the act, when Home Depot has an entire eco section with 6,000 products, that's not a trend. And they're actually doing a set aside in many of their stores. Best Buy, look at their recycling program. Now, I don't know if you know about Best Buy, but they're one of the largest retailers right now because everybody is throwing out their old TV. Remember, we talked about green? They're throwing out their old TV to get the new, more cool TV that is using more power. Is that good? Well, that's what they're doing, right? My grandmother probably had a TV that lasted 25 years. Plasma TVs, every 6 months, there's a brand new version, and they do break, and they don't last very long. So we're throwing that into the landfill. Okay. Etsy, you've heard about that. They're using artists, local people. They make their own quilts, and they're having an impact to sell things. But are we doing it right? Are we doing it right? Because a lot of people, now I want a Tesla, I want one. I have a Prius, so I'll graduate one day to a Tesla. How about you guys, right? But are we doing it right? Because if you have a car that is powered with a plug, that means there's gonna be a power plant somewhere that's gotta power that. It's not a solar powered thing, it is a plug. So are we doing it right? If we get rid of our car, and I will use this analogy, I learned that a Lexus hybrid gets about 28 miles to the gallon. But a Toyota Yaris, which uses a gasoline-powered engine, gets 40 miles to the gallon. Are we doing it right? That's the question we should be asking ourselves. Well, how many of you get this at your house? Every hand goes up, right? Where's the cardboard box going? Do we recycle? We try to, but where does the box go? Does it really go back somewhere, or does it get shipped on a ship to another country? That's what happens. Did you know? Cardboard, they will put it on a ship, and they will ship it to Asia or another place. It's not getting recycled in this country for something. How many of us, if we had to add up all the Amazon boxes that we get on an annual basis, where does it go? Okay? What about all that vintage furniture that you see? Where does that go? Could you be using it in your home? I know a lot of people that are today, and I think that's another thing. Sustainability. This is another version of sustainability, shopping that vintage shop and finding some cool chairs. But how does that impact the furniture industry? If you're using the old stuff, what are the margins then for the furniture industry? I want us to all think about that while we're walking this show. And we talked about greenwashing earlier. So I'm going to use vinyl floors as an example. How many of you, please raise your hand, have been trying to tell other people they should use vinyl flooring? A couple people. Okay. Please read this. Because linoleum is marmoleum, that's the brand name. It's made of linseed oil and other natural products. It's something that is quite beautiful. But luxury vinyl flooring has gotten this big marketing push recently. And they say, it's great, but it's not great for wellness. It is perhaps great for sustainability, but guess what? If you have linoleum, you could have linoleum from 1930 and it's still good. Vinyl flooring, it will actually over time, it's sort of like a plastic. It will wear down and it won't look so pretty. You're even seeing that in rugs. Some of the cheapest rugs you see on some of these online sites, they're made of a petrochemical. They are not good for your well-being. They look good, they're cheap, but it's not good. But more and more people are gonna buy them if they aren't educated. So I wanna share that with you. I'll let y'all read that, and it's pretty scary because it's made of polyvinyl chloride. It facilitates the growth of mold, but a lot of people are putting that in their basement. Isn't that gross? Okay, I see some shaking heads. All right. Best practices. Have you heard of green demolitions? It is a wonderful place if you're in the New York, New Jersey area. They actually take, and they actually do it all over the country, but very wealthy people will have kitchens that they just say, I don't want this anymore, I want a brand new kitchen. So instead of it going into the landfill, green demolitions will come wherever you are in the country, you can even call them, they will come to you, they will take the cabinets properly off the wall, and they will resell them. And they have a great website. And they will ship them to you, and you can put them in your own home. Floor carpet tiles. Again, there's hundreds of companies. I'm just doing a few. Floor carpet tiles, they're great because they can be washed. Did you know that? That's a wonderful thing when you are talking about wellness and sustainability. And the price point is like $6 to, I think, about $25. They actually, you can ship them in, and they'll recycle them at the end. And the base is not vinyl, it's a rubber product. Habitat for Humanity, they have a store, did you know that? So again, there's two sides to this equation, wellness and sustainability. What happens if no one buys new furniture and everyone just repurposes the old? What happens to this market? Right? Ooh, right? So you gotta balance that, and you gotta know what the margins are. Eco by Cosentino, they take recycled toilets, so the ceramic from the toilets, mirrors, fly ash from smokestacks, they take all of that, compress it at huge rates, and they have a product called Eco by Cosentino, which is a quartzite countertop. That's something you should be aware of. And then SFC. If you walk this show, look for the Sustainable Furnishings Council logo. It means it's a member that is qualified, that they have approved practices for how things are made. And please try to support those companies. Here's my version of wellness best practices. No formaldehyde glues. They're toxic, it's a known carcinogen, and it will harm you. Low to no VOC paints and stains. Guess what? Various paint manufacturers make them 1 hour after you paint, there's no paint smell. And that's great, especially if you have young children in your home. You could go out, have a nice lunch, watch a great movie, and then come home and there's not gonna be a paint smell. No added urea formaldehyde wood in cabinetry or furniture. Now, all wood has urea formaldehyde. It's part of it. Added urea formaldehyde is a chemical product. And you just ask the question and protect yourself. And we can ask that question, yeah, okay. Non-toxic cushions for furniture. Now, one of the things a lot of us, there was I think the film was called Smoke, and I could be wrong on the title, but did you know that more people die not in a fire because of the fire, but because of the toxic smoke? So if you have a cushion or a furniture piece that has certain chemicals in it, flame retardants and other things like that, literally it can start smoking. And you have like 10 seconds to get out of your house or you're gonna die because you can't breathe. It chokes you. And that's something, you need to know what the cushions are made of in your home. And people don't realize that. Non-toxic materials for pillows and bedding. You spend 1/3 of your life sleeping. How is your wellness if you have boric acid in your cheap mattress? Do you know what boric acid is? It's roach killer. And the cheapest mattresses, they assume it's gonna be in a high-rise building that has lots of people in it, and they put boric acid in mattresses. And you're sleeping on it, and your child is sleeping on that. That's 1/3 of your life. That's sick. You will be sick. And is that the canary in our coal mine? I don't know, but don't buy a mattress that has boric acid in it. Your pillows. There are certain commercials that we've all seen. The guy's like, I don't want to say his name, but you see him on TV. Well, you know how his pillows are made? He uses the waste product from the cushions from the couches and shreds it all up and puts some other stuff in there and then puts it in a pillow. Ew. So if it's got chemical retardants on the foam in your sofa and now it got shredded up and now you're sleeping on it, you're sleeping right next to all those chemical retardants. Yeah, it's very cheap, $19.99 for 1 or 2 pillows, but they were recently fined, do your Google search, about $5 or $10 million for misleading advertising. Limit the use of vinyl or dry cleaning in your home. Vinyl. Okay, so this is personal, but for all you ladies or friends who can't necessarily, you're trying to have a child, and it's like, I can't, Did you know vinyl has phthalates in it, and it's an endocrine disruptor? And the American Medical Association has actually done a study, and they have found that people who have vinyl shower curtains in their home have a tougher time getting pregnant. Get rid of the vinyl shower curtain. We also talked about vinyl flooring. Get rid of that too. because it is an endocrine disruptor and it can cause issues for your reproduction. Dry cleaning. We all know about PERC. That's a chemical that goes into dry cleaning. If you're going to have your clothing dry cleaned, bring it home, perhaps stick it in the garage and a mudroom closet or something before you bring it into your sleeping area, and just let it air out for a minute. You know, cleaners and adhesive that have limited off-gassing. I do not advocate yet any product. There are lots of them that are non-toxic, but what I do tell people is there's some simple things to be aware of. We, with wellness, and we with sustainability, need to know how are things made. Are they poured, what happens to the chemicals? Are they poured into our waterways after they, you know, whatever the byproducts are? And also, what happens to our children when we have, and I'll tell you, I had a client who said, oh, when I come home after the cleaning lady leaves, I want to be greeted at the door with the smell of pine. Okay, I'm like, does that mean it's clean? No, they could have just poured it at your front doorway and sprayed some stuff and you walk in. And so guess what? That doesn't mean it's clean. And not only that, that particular product has a formaldehyde byproduct, which really just deadens the nose hairs in your nose, the smell, your smell sensors. And so that's why you smell the pine, and then a minute later, you don't smell it anymore. Ooh, I see some people going, ew, right? Well, the key to that is to remember, clean is clean. And you can't spray something on a couch and clean it. Take the cushion or the slip cover off and wash it, please. You know, take care of yourself. And then reuse, recycle, reclaim. Again, that's at odds a little bit with what we're doing here because we all want people to buy furniture, but have people buy quality pieces. And try, if you can, with vintage pieces to again, use your low to no VOC paints and stains on those. Would you raise your child in a chemical factory? We asked that earlier. The mattress, what mattress are you buying? The crib itself, children gnaw on cribs. So if you have a stain or a paint on the crib and they're eating that paint or stain, and maybe you did get a vintage crib, don't. You know why? Because vintage cribs may have lead paint on them if they're made before a certain year. We could talk about flooring and window treatments, try to get something that is washable. Would you sleep or spa in a chemical factory? Again, using the same principles. What's in your mattress? What's in your pillows? And what are you doing to protect yourself and your family? Now, towels. Did you know towels? We've had a whole bunch of people say, I have organic towels. Organic cotton. You know what? There's not enough organic cotton in the world to make the towels and the sheets that people claim are organic. And because organic cotton isn't purple or green, you don't know if it's truly organic. Cotton is the most heavily pesticided plant in the world. It's how it grows. Unless you're in the Himalayas at the top of the mountain and a Sherpa picked the cotton. Okay, that's about all the organic cotton that there is. Now, even in Texas, where I'm from, if you're in Austin and you go to Austin and you want to see the sunset, the bats that fly off of the Congress Avenue Bridge, well, those bats fly out to the country and they eat the, the bugs, aphids, I believe is what they're called, off of the cotton boll. But they're still cotton sprayed, they're still sprayed with pesticide. So the bats fly and they go eat the whatever, and then they come back and their bat guano is used by Whole Foods for fertilizer for your flower beds, okay? So they're this good little symbiotic cycle. But the reality is there's not enough organic cotton in the world to make all the things that say they're organic cotton. I want you to know that. Sometimes you're paying a premium and it's greenwashing. Now, the line that I have in particular, we use Supima cotton. Supima cotton is an American-made, American-grown product. And they ship the US-made Supima cotton, which is a long-strand cotton. They ship it to Asia because we don't have the plants here anymore, which is really sad. But they ship it to Asia, it's made, and then they ship it back to the US. So that's what, when you see Supima cotton, it is a US-based product. And there's a lot of that from Texas and California and other places. I'm trying to give you all some good information so you can tell your clients and you can be aware. So here's some clean design facts. Did you know toothpaste can clean crayon off the walls? Now, a lot of parents will literally have their kids at eye level, and they'll spray a toxic chemical, and their kid is like breathing that in. But if you could just use crayon, if they're gonna crayon on the wall, or even use marker, magic marker, think about this. If Purell can clean graffiti off New York City subway trains, Purell can work in your home too. Okay? Did you know that the average person sleeps on the same unwashed pillow for 6 years? Or they have the one from college. Okay? So I have a rule of threes. Every 3 weeks, wash the zippered pillow cover if you can. Every 3 months, wash the pillow itself. And this is not a down pillow, by the way. It's a polyfill pillow. If you have allergies or asthma, you're gonna have a polyfill pillow. And replace the pillow every 3 years if you haven't done any of those things. Did you know that most people will pay more for products if they know it will improve their health? Your health is priceless. And guess what? Going back to the consumers that are found, because everything in business is not about the consumer you know you have, it's about the new consumer that you want to get, who doesn't know about your product or your brand, where you're marketing to them. So if you think about it, here's some consumers that most of us don't think about. There's the new mom, okay? You tell a mom it's healthy and it's gonna be safe for their child, and it's gonna last for maybe their first child, second, third child, and that crib is not gonna fall apart, they're gonna buy it. It doesn't matter the cost pretty much. The mattress, they're going to buy it. The second consumer, think about the person who just got home from cancer treatments or autoimmune treatments. And what does the doctor say? Clean your house. Most people are like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. And so if you could market your products as clean it, they have to be, don't greenwash it, right? Don't health wash it. But if it's a healthy product, then you've got another consumer. A third consumer that most people don't think about is what I call the multi-generational family. How many people are moving back in with their parents because they don't have a full-time job, they're paying off student loans? So you have grandparents, parents, and adult children living in one household. That's another consumer a lot of people don't think about. But they'll sell platform beds, but an older person can't really get out of a platform bed. Or they sell a bed that's too high and they can't really get out of that bed. So we need to think about the multi-generational consumer. And a fourth consumer we also don't think about is what I call the eco-conscious consumer, who really does care about how it's made and where it's made. And again, I say it's a $60+ billion marketplace. So find that consumer and use this analogy. When you think about Carter's, when I said Carter's, what did you say? Oh, baby clothes, right? But do you trust that brand? And do they do any advertising at all? None. It's all word of mouth because it's cotton clothing and you know that your child will be okay. You think they will, right? My daughter she's 4, she wears Carter's. And it may not be the most fashionable, but I know it's durable, I know I can wash it 25 times, and I know that it's gonna last. So think about Carter's when you think about your manufacturing. What is it that you could say to any of those 4 consumer bases? And again, the millennial consumer who is saying, you know, I got student loans, I'm leasing, I have a small apartment, or maybe I'm buying my first home and I'm not gonna move. I'm gonna keep my little tiny house so I can travel the world. Who are those consumers and how can you market to them? And phthalates, we talked about that earlier. Oh, I skipped. How many manufacturers have signed a pledge with the Sustainable Furnishings Council? How is it made? Ask how it's made when you're walking the show, because you don't know unless you ask. And then phthalates, I said that earlier, it can affect your ability to have a baby. You may not believe me, but Google American Medical Association and phthalates or vinyl, and it will come up. There are thousands of articles about how people have been affected. And I will tell you, having had a child at 42, brought her home on my 43rd birthday, when I got rid of the shower curtain, 6 months later, boom, okay? So, just saying. All right. Your home is your ecosystem. The global world is an ecosystem, but your home, your client's home, your family, your friend's home is your ecosystem. What are you putting into it? What is it taking out of you? How much energy are you using? Okay, because that great TV that's using more energy might be something that you want to look at. And how is it affecting your health? Because it's all intertwined. and your home should be your safe space. I have truly enjoyed this, and thank you for having me. North Carolina, thank you.